Hi everyone, I'm Nitsahone, and today I'm bringing you a special video. This video is sponsored by Battle Spirit Saga, a new card game from Bandai. This game's launch events are coming the weekend of March 25th and 26th, and the game is fully releasing on April 28th. In this video, I'll be opening a special box that Battle Spirits Saga sent me, and I'll be using it to introduce you to the game's concepts and some of the parts of it that I think are particularly interesting in terms of game design and strategy. So here is the box, but before we bust into it, they actually sent me a few other things that came in a larger box, and I want to show those to you first. First, there's this really nice playmat with the Battle Spirit Saga logo. This is what appears on the back of the cards, as we'll see. And obviously this is going to make a pretty good background for us to be opening the stuff in the box and the cards and things. And it does a really good job of introducing you to the game. As usual, you've got your game steps laid out, which is always really good to have on, your first playmat of a new game. Got your life total up here, which it looks a little different than life totals in most games. It isn't some numerical value. Your life is made up of what are called cores, which is also the game's resource system. So that's one of the most unique things about the game, and that is what I will ultimately focus on the most here, because I think the strategy around these cores, which are, again, both your life and your mana for the magic comparison, I think that's what makes this game really unique. They also sent me a couple of starter decks, including this one, which is called Call of the Curse. It's the starter deck for purple. So, like in Magic, there are factions and they're represented by colors. In this case, there are 4 of them. You can see already that the art is very anime-inspired. I mean, it's a game made by Bandai, which is, of course, a Japanese company, so makes a lot of sense. You can see that on the back when it's sort of describing this deck. It says, remove your opponent's cores and cause chaos in their ranks. So that tells me this is sort of a control deck. So cores are used as your mana. They also are required, they have to go on your spirits, which are like your creatures, to keep them around. And so this deck specializes in destroying spirits and really disrupting the opponent. The other starter deck is the yellow one, and it's called Forbidden Magic. And this one says, dance circles around your opponent with strategic magic. So in addition to your spirit cards, you also have magic cards, which are one use like sorceries, and this deck clearly specializes in those. And the last thing is this letter, which I'll read to you, which says, Dear Summoner, welcome to the world of Battle Spirit Saga. You've been selected from the bravest summoners throughout Earth in the 6 realms to experience Battle Spirit Saga before anyone else. Here you will find a treasure trove of epic BSS equipment, some of which can only be found here. A booster pack of Dawn of History, the first ever booster set, with pre-release in March and full release in April 2023. Congratulations, you're one of the first summoners on Earth to tear open a BSS booster pack. That's pretty cool. A half-deck set to start playing right away, including a set of cores, a playmat usable with your half-deck and throughout your BSS journey, a deck case to hold your BSS decks and cores all in one place, a world and game guide to study the lore of the 6 realms, and brush up on your summoning skills too, a holographic poster to display the glory of the Supernova Dragon, a Siege Worm Nova, an Absolute Ice Shield promo card, which you may find as invaluable protection for journeys into the realm of flame. This alternate art card is exclusive for you. And our eternal gratitude for being part of the launch of Battle Spirit Saga. Your mission is to help spread the gospel of Battle Spirit Saga, summon your friends, summon your fans, and let the world know about this epic new competitive game from Bandai. Until we meet again on the battlefield, sincerely, the Battle Spirit Saga team. So that's pretty cool. It gives you some idea of what we're going to see in this box, which we're about to open now. All right, what do we have inside? So we've got a lore, a world guide, and game guide. So, a book that will really introduce us to the game's lore. We'll look at that in a second. So here are these cores, if you're wondering what they look like. That's what these little, I don't know if they're dodecahedrons. They're little gems, though. And these are, the resource system. So you don't have resources in your deck, like in Magic, where you have to have lands in your deck. Resources are just part of the game's rules, and you use them to play your cards. But, as I said, there's also this other interesting angle where they're also used for your life. And like I said, I think this is one of the more unique aspects of the game. We've got this nice deck box to put our new Battle Spirit Saga cards in. Yes, very nice deck box. Very high quality. Actually, it looks like there's another playmat in here, which is cool. So, you know, I got 2 starter decks, so, you know, I can teach someone else the game and we can play it together. Then we have some cool cards. These are the half decks, you know, that I can use for playing the game. So, this is Imperial Thunder Dragon Siege Worm. You can see this number. This is their battle points. It's the main stat that spirits have. And just like in Magic, this is a game where the most common thing you're doing is attacking with creatures, in this case spirits, on the battlefield and trying to hit your opponent with them, and your opponent can decide whether to block them. So that aspect is very, very similar. And so 4,000 battle points, you know, is quite high, especially for level 1. The spirits in this game have levels. I'll explain a little more about that when I get to talking about the core system a little more in a minute. And the cost up on the left is 6. We've also got this Absolute Ice Shield promo card, I'm guessing, since it says 4 Influencer on it. This one's a magic card, so that means it's one use. You know, just like in Magic, the spirits, in this case, which are like creatures, stay on the table until they get destroyed in some way. Magic cards are used once and they go to your graveyard. There's also this burst effect, which again, when we get back to looking at the playmat, I'll explain this a little better. But burst effects are sort of like trap cards in other games, where if you have this in your burst zone, it'll just trigger when this thing happens, in this case, when you lose life, and you don't have to pay anything for it when it goes that way, but it's modal. So you can also just use this, casting it, using it from your hand. So that's kind of a cool angle. So we've got another playmat, like I said. If I can keep the box open. And then we've also got a poster. This will obviously be hard to show you, you know, in the unboxing, but I will include a picture of what this poster looks like when I, you know, edit the video. So that's what was in the box. All right, now I want to introduce you to the main sort of core concepts of the game, and focusing the most on, well, cores. So it's kind of a funny pun. Core concepts. So like I said, you know, your life is here, and you start with 5, and you put 5 cores here at the start of the game. These, again, these are the cores. You do not put this, they are dodecahedrons. You do not put this red one there. That one's going to go in our reserve ultimately. That is your soul core. So again, the cores are like mana when they're in your reserve. They help you play your things. And if you have your soul core on one of your spirits, some of them have extra effects that they don't get from a regular core. All right, so we put 5 cores here. So those are your 5 life cores. And so what happens is, you know, say we had, or our opponent has this Imperial Thunder Dragon Siege Worm in play, and they attack us with it, which you do. It's called exhausting, but you tap them like you would in Magic, and your opponent has to decide, if they can, whether they want to block it. Again, just like in Magic. If they decide not to block it and they take the hit, they end up losing a core. But what's really interesting, and this is, again, this exact aspect of the cores is what's most interesting to me, is when you get hit by your opponent, you actually get your cores ramped. You get more mana, effectively, more cores on your next turn to spend on things. So what's really cool about that to me is that, like, if you're losing the game, if you're behind because your opponent has this big monster in play that none of your stuff can block, or maybe you're not able to block it at all, you kind of get a leg up at the same time. So this can allow you to come back from behind in a way that I haven't really seen in other games. You know, that's really unique to me. So that's one really cool thing about the cores. And so you start the game, you know, with more than just your soul core. So you start with 4 of these cores in your reserve at the beginning of the game. I guess we'll put this one back in our life so it looks more like our game state at the beginning of the game. So yeah, again, if you get hit, if you just keep getting hit, you're getting your cores ramped, which means theoretically you can put more things on the board. So you can find a way out of a bad situation, and I think that's really cool. So yeah, those are our 4 cores, counting our soul core. And so you spend these to cast and play things. I'm going to open up this half deck so we have a few more card examples to look at. All right, so let's look at this Ray Needle, which is a Star Dragon. You can see it has a cost of 1. So if I wanted to play this on my turn, I would play Rain Needle, and then I would move this to the trash. But to keep a spirit in play, you also have to put a core on it. Because your spirit has to have these cores. It's like their life essence in a way. So while I spend one to cast it, to play it, I put another core onto the Rain Needle to keep it around. If I don't, it doesn't. You can't have it in play. And on top of that, the interesting thing is, as I showed you when we saw our big other dragon earlier, but obviously this is a small one, so it's a little easier to explain. These spirits have levels. So if I put one core on a spirit, this spirit, it has 1,000 of these battle points. If I put 2 cores on it, it has 3,000, and if I put 3, it has 4,000. Sometimes they gain other abilities too. Rain Needle is fairly simple, so it does not. It's just a vanilla creature, vanilla spirit. Everything else on the card is flavor text. So when you play it, you have to have at least 1 core on it, and you can put more on it. And then what's really interesting is on your turn, you can move your cores around. So if you have multiple things in play, and let's say I had 2 cores here, I could decide I want to move one to my new Rain Needle so that they're both level 1. So I could have both in play. So the cores are used to keep your spirits in play. You don't have to use them for your magic. You do have to use them. There's one more card type that I haven't introduced to you yet. See if I can find one. And yeah, so there's also these nexuses, which are sort of like enchantments. They stay on the battlefield and they have an effect. In this case, all of my red spirits, which are the ones we have in play, get 1,000 battle points. And battle points, by the way, used a lot in the same way as power and toughness in Magic. There's not a power and a toughness. There's just straight up BP battle points. And whoever has the higher one wins when something gets blocked. If they have the same number of battle points, they both get destroyed. And the amount of damage these spirits do when they get through is represented by this symbol down here. So Rain Needle only does 1. So my opponent would lose 1 of their life cores, but they'd get to put it into their reserve again. So there's this weird upside to getting hit that I think strategically is fascinating. Oh, and yeah, with these nexuses, although this isn't a good example because it has a level 0. So, but most of them require you to have a core on them. You can put 2 on this to get it up to level 2, so it has an additional effect. So those are the 3 card types: spirits, magic, and nexuses. Also, the cores that you put in your trash come back to your reserve every turn. But the ones who stay, these ones have to stay on our creatures, on our spirits. And we also get a new core every turn in our reserve. So you slowly ramp up your mana sort of naturally, ramp up your cores naturally, and can play more powerful things. Just, that's usually a good thing in a card game, for things to slowly get more intense because people have more and more resources. And that's what this game allows for, because you get more every turn into your reserve. So the other thing that I wanted to show you, remember we had this special, the Absolute Ice Shield promo card, and it has this burst effect. If you have a burst card, you put it face down. I still have it in a little plastic thing, but you put it face down like that, and when the thing happens, like your opponent doesn't know what it is, and when the thing happens, you get to flip it over, and in this case, it's if we lose life. And what happens to our opponent is place a core from our reserve into our life, and I can then pay this card's cost to activate its flash effect. So I actually get an additional effect here if I pay 4 cores, and that says when this battle ends in the attack step. So we get this additional effect, but my opponent has no idea it's coming. So it's a sort of surprise trap effect that triggers from this effect in particular. Magic, I believe, is the only thing with burst effects like this, where they just sort of come out of nowhere, which is a cool, sort of trap card feeling effect. So those are pretty much the game's basics. I want to show you a little bit of the lore and background of the game now. So yeah, we got this world guide and game guide. Oh, I think it folds out. Oh, it does. So here's a map of this world. The world has these 6 realms. Interestingly, I knew there were four in the game. We have yellow, white, red, and purple, which I introduced you to. We saw the yellow starter deck and the purple starter deck, and then the red cards from the half deck. But apparently, there's two more colors coming in green and blue that we don't know anything yet. But the world is made up of all of these different places, which are inhabited by different kinds of people, different spirits with different fighting styles and stuff. The realm of flame is red, the realm of gloom is purple, realm of radiance is yellow, realm of frost is white. Yeah, and then the guide goes into a much deeper discussion of each of these realms, which is pretty cool. So there are like main species. I'm guessing, there's, like most card games, there's going to be these sort of tribal elements where you have creatures with the right type. So the main species for the realm of flame are star dragons, dragonoids, pterosaurs, and emperor beasts. The realm of gloom has serpents, shadows, and the undead. The realm of frost has mechas, androids, machine beasts, and ice princesses. That last one's interesting. They're a doll-like species with bodies like glass. They lead secluded lives in massive towers in the mountains and have no contact with the outside world, save for a few mechanical beasts. The ice princesses possess songs of such beauty, they captivate beings with no emotions. Interesting. The realm of radiance has angels, fabled beasts, arcana, and lyric birds. I like birds. Looks sort of like a bird, a penguin with a top hat on. That's it's an interesting bird. I'm down. So one last thing is that this game is launching with like a pretty robust, organized play system, including the launch event, which in North America will be in Las Vegas. It will have, a prize pool, pretty impressive one. They're, already doing a $1 million prize pool over the first year of the game. So they're really trying to build organized play. And, my content focuses a lot on competitive Magic, right? So having a competitive circuit, I think, is always great for games. And I'm really interested to see how this one goes, just because, again, it has this unique aspect of the life. The cores in general are really fascinating to me, and I'm excited to see what it looks like when people sort of crack the code on how best to utilize them. If you're interested in signing up for that launch event where there'll be the first tournament, you'll also get stuff like this playmat. You can find a link in the description. Again, that event will be in Las Vegas from March 25th to 26th. If you're interested in checking out this game more, you can also find a link to the Battle Spirits Saga webpage in the description. And again, thanks to Battle Spirits Saga for sponsoring the video. It was really exciting to get to show you all of this stuff from this brand new game.